So what if you could build a company that didn't have a CEO? Seriously, imagine an organization where the rules are just code and every single member gets a real say in what happens. Well, that's not science fiction anymore. It's the promise of a pretty radical new idea that we're going to break down today, and it's already changing how people are working together online.
I mean, that's a huge question, right? But for a whole generation that feels kind of let down by the traditional way of doing things, this isn't just some abstract thought experiment. It's a real call to action, a call to build something new. People are actively looking for an alternative to the top-down corporate ladder that's defined our world for centuries. And that, right there, is where our story really begins.
You know, to really get where we're going, we first have to understand the problems with the systems we've got right now. And the core issue, really, it all comes down to how power is concentrated at the top.
This warning from Lord Acton is, over 100 years old, and it just hits the nail on the head. It perfectly captures the problem with our traditional top-down structures, where all the power is in the hands of just a few people. And what happens? Well, that concentration of power often leads to decisions that help a handful of insiders, not the entire community.
So on one side, you've got this old model of top-down control. It's usually slow, the decisions happen behind closed doors, and it has this classic problem where the people doing the work and the people making the decisions have totally different goals. But on the other side, there's this new model of network collaboration bubbling up, and it's built on two key things: transparency and shared ownership.
So, what is the alternative? What's the fix? Well, let's take a look at the blueprint for a whole new kind of organization, the DAO. And listen, this isn't just an idea on a whiteboard. It's a real, functioning model for a more democratic and, frankly, a more efficient way to get things done together.
Okay, so let's break that down. A DAO is basically an organization that runs on code. It's owned by its members, and it operates with, radical transparency. You can think of it as a digital co-op where all the rules of the group are literally baked right into the software itself.
Now, what's really, really cool is the tech that makes all this possible. It's called a smart contract. And this, right here, this is the secret sauce. It's the core innovation that lets these DAOs run without needing traditional managers or lawyers to enforce the rules.
The best way to think about a smart contract is to picture a vending machine. It's basically a self-executing agreement where the rules are programmed right in. You put the money in, that's the condition, you press the button, and the contract automatically executes. The snack comes out. But here's the key. Putting this whole system on a blockchain makes that vending machine totally transparent, unstoppable, and verifiable by anyone in the world. There's no cashier needed, no secret mechanisms, just pure automated logic.
And this just shows you the difference so clearly. Smart contracts basically automate trust. That makes them way faster, cheaper, and more transparent than a traditional legal agreement. They bring the cost of coordinating a group of people down to almost zero, which is exactly why DAOs have the potential to outcompete these older, slower organizations.
Okay, so this isn't just theory, right? There's a whole ecosystem of tools out there making DAOs a reality as we speak. So let's actually look at the toolkit that people are using to build these things today. Right off the bat, you need to know that DAOs are not a one-size-fits-all kind of thing. You've got protocol DAOs like Uniswap, which are basically community-owned banks where members vote on the rules of the financial exchange. Then you have investment DAOs, which are like decentralized venture capital funds, where a bunch of strangers can pool their cash and vote on which projects to fund. It's all about matching the organization's structure to its specific mission.
Now, all these DAOs have to live somewhere, right? They have to be built on a blockchain. Ethereum is the original home for most of them. It's secure, it's been battle-tested, but then you have newer platforms like Solana that are all about speed, which allows for faster voting. And then you have solutions like Polygon, which help DAOs on Ethereum avoid those really high transaction fees. The platform you pick really determines the trade-offs you make between speed, cost, and security.
And here's the good news. You don't have to be some kind of coding genius to start one of these. There are these DAO-in-a-box frameworks that make it super easy. Something like Aragon gives you tons of custom options. It's like building your company out of Legos. But for a lot of groups, a tool like Snapshot is all you need. It's a simple, and this is huge, a free way to let your community vote on proposals.
So let's zoom out for a second. What does a world full of DAOs actually look like? This is where things get really, really transformative. We are talking about a fundamental redesign of how we work, how we create value, and how we share the rewards.
And listen, this is not some small niche experiment. Take Gitcoin DAO, for example.
It's already given out over $50 million to fund open-source software projects. That just shows you the incredible real-world economic power of a community-run funding model.
This new model could completely change the nature of work itself. It kind of reimagines concepts like the 4-hour work week by shifting the focus away from hours clocked to the actual value you create. Your contribution is directly tied to your reward, which makes true, genuine autonomy a real possibility.
So here's the most crucial point. This is a massive shift away from making a few shareholders rich to empowering all the stakeholders. In a DAO, the people contributing, the people using the product, the community members, they all have a voice, and they all get a piece of the success they helped create.
And here's where it gets a little wild. Some people are even arguing that DAOs, with their code-based rules and their global reach, could make the entire legal structure of a traditional corporation obsolete. I know, it's a bold vision, but it just shows you the scale of the revolution we're talking about here.
But, and this is a big but, this is still a very new and experimental technology. It is not a utopia, and there are some significant risks we absolutely need to understand if this whole model is going to have a future.
You see, in a DAO, the code is the law, and it is completely unforgiving. A single bug, one little loophole, can be exploited. The infamous DAO hack back in 2016 proved this, when an attacker drained $60 million, not by breaking the rules, but by following rules the developers never intended to write in the first place. And look, just because something is decentralized doesn't mean power imbalances magically disappear. You can have these wealthy whales who hold a majority of the voting tokens, and they can potentially just dominate every decision. It can create a whole new kind of rule by the rich if the system isn't designed very, very carefully.
So fixing these problems, the security issues, the fairness issues, that's the central challenge right now. But the core idea, the idea of organizations that are owned and operated by their users, well, that's an incredibly powerful one. The tools are being built out in the open, and these experiments are happening live for everyone to see. So the real question this slide is asking is, can these new structures create more opportunity than the ones we have now, and will you be a part of building them?